1. Which of the following is a key principle of adult learning theory when designing environmental science training? A. Adults learn best through passive lecture-style presentations. B. Adults prefer to learn through hands-on activities and real-world examples. C. Adults should not be allowed to ask questions during training sessions. D. Adults should be given only theoretical knowledge without practical applications. 2. What is the primary purpose of environmental impact assessments, EIA? A. To evaluate the economic feasibility of a project. B. To identify and mitigate the negative effects of a project on the environment. C. To determine the aesthetic appeal of a development. D. To promote public awareness of environmental regulations. 3. Which of the following is considered a regulatory compliance in environmental science? A. Implementing workplace safety protocols. B. Disposing of hazardous waste in landfills. C. Meeting air quality standards set by the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. D. Planting trees in urban areas. 4. Which of the following communication strategies is most effective when educating a community about environmental issues? A. Using technical jargon to display expertise. B. Providing clear, simple, and actionable information relevant to the audience. C. Ignoring local concerns to focus on national issues. D. Using a one-size-fits-all approach for all community groups. 5. What is the best approach for a certified environmental scientist to assess the environmental health of a local water body? A. Relying on historical data without considering current conditions. B. Conducting regular water quality testing and comparing the results with established standards. C. Assuming the water body is clean if there are no visible pollutants. D. Collecting samples only during extreme weather events. 6. In adult learning, how can feedback be effectively used in environmental science education? A. To provide criticism without offering solutions. B. To guide learners toward better understanding and behavior improvement. C. To discourage learners from making mistakes. D. To compare learners against one another. 7. Which environmental law requires the assessment of potential environmental impacts before starting large projects? A. Clean Water Act, CWA. B. National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA. C. Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, RCRA. D. Toxic Substances Control Act, TSCA. 8. Which of the following is considered a sustainable practice for managing hazardous waste in industrial settings? A. Ignoring regulatory requirements to reduce operational costs. B. Properly labeling and storing hazardous materials according to regulatory standards. C. Dumping waste into nearby water sources for quick disposal. D. Releasing untreated waste into the environment. 9. In terms of curriculum development for environmental science, which of the following should be emphasized for adult learners? A. Emphasizing theoretical concepts without real-world connections. B. Incorporating practical case studies, group discussions, and problem-solving activities. C. Using a rigid, lecture-only approach. D. Avoiding hands-on activities to keep costs low. 10. What method can be used to evaluate the success of an environmental training program for adults? A. Relying solely on test scores at the end of the program. B. Conducting post-training surveys to gather feedback from participants on the effectiveness of the training. C. Focusing only on the length of the training sessions. D. Ignoring participant engagement during the training sessions. 11. Which of the following best describes the role of a certified environmental scientist in mentoring colleagues? A. To provide instructions without encouraging independent thought. B. To share knowledge and provide guidance while fostering critical thinking and problem-solving skills. C. To only focus on the technical aspects of environmental science. D. To impose personal beliefs and views on mentees without considering diverse perspectives. 12. What is the first step in developing an environmental education program for a community? A. Ignoring local concerns and focusing on broad international issues. B. Assessing the community's needs, concerns, and existing knowledge about environmental issues. C. Providing complex scientific data to impress the community. D. Assuming that the community has no interest in environmental issues. 13. Which of the following is a method for assessing the environmental impact of a new construction project? A. Ignoring local wildlife habitats. B. Conducting a comprehensive environmental impact assessment, EIA. C. Assuming all impacts will be positive. D. Prioritizing economic benefits over environmental concerns. 14. What is the role of an environmental scientist in ensuring the compliance of a facility with local air quality regulations? A. Monitoring emissions to ensure they meet government standards. B. Ignoring environmental regulations to maintain productivity. C. Ensuring the facility operates without any environmental inspections. D. Overlooking air quality measures to reduce operational costs. 15. What is the key principle of adult learning that promotes self-directed learning in environmental science? A. Encouraging learners to rely entirely on the instructor for all information. E. Allowing learners to take responsibility for their learning and seek out resources as needed. C. Limiting learners to only the material provided in class. D. Discouraging independent thought and promoting memorization. 16. Which action should be taken if an environmental monitoring program reveals that a local river is becoming polluted? A. Ignoring the findings because they are not significant. B. Reporting the findings to the appropriate regulatory authorities and developing a mitigation plan. C. Continuing operations without addressing the pollution. D. Shutting down all industries in the area immediately. 17. Which of the following is an example of environmental sustainability in the agricultural sector? A. Using chemical pesticides and fertilizers excessively. B. Practicing crop rotation and organic farming methods to preserve soil health. C. Ignoring the long-term impact of farming practices. D. Overexploiting water resources to maximize production. 18. What is the best approach for an environmental educator to engage adult learners in a community garden project? A. Giving them step-by-step instructions without allowing them to make decisions. B. Encouraging collaborative decision-making and problem-solving to design and maintain the garden. C. Avoiding any discussions or feedback on the project. D. Focusing solely on theoretical gardening techniques without any hands-on experience. 19. Which strategy would best foster collaboration between environmental scientists and local policymakers? A. Ignoring the concerns of policymakers to focus only on scientific data. B. Engaging in ongoing communication and presenting data in a way that aligns with policy goals. C. Only providing technical reports without any practical recommendations. D. Disregarding the political landscape when proposing environmental initiatives. 20. How does the concept of environmental justice relate to the work of an environmental scientist? It emphasizes the protection of the environment over the rights of vulnerable communities. B. It promotes the fair distribution of environmental benefits and burdens, especially for marginalized groups. C. It focuses only on urban areas and ignores rural concerns. D. It supports environmental policies that disproportionately affect low-income populations. 21. What is the most effective method for teaching regulatory compliance in environmental science to adult learners? Using case studies of successful compliance projects and discussing real-world scenarios. B. Focusing only on legal jargon without explaining its practical implications. C. Relying on memorization without application. D. Providing only theoretical knowledge without considering real-world contexts. 22. Which of the following is a key aspect of conducting an environmental audit? A. Focusing solely on financial aspects. B. Analyzing compliance with environmental regulations and identifying areas for improvement. C. Ignoring employee feedback about environmental practices. D. Only assessing external environmental factors without considering internal processes. 23. Which of the following is the primary responsibility of a certified environmental scientist in addressing climate change? A. Promoting climate change denial. B. Identifying, analyzing, and proposing solutions to mitigate climate change impacts. C. Ignoring scientific data on climate change. D. Limiting climate change discussions to theoretical concepts without proposing actions. 24. What is the first step in the development of an environmental protection policy? A. Ignoring scientific data and focusing solely on public opinion. B. Conducting a thorough review of existing environmental conditions and regulatory requirements. C. Assuming that existing policies are sufficient and not requiring any changes. D. Focusing only on one environmental issue without considering broader impacts.